here, and it's my pleasure today to be talking with the AARP's CIO, Terry Bradwell. Terry, thanks for joining me. Great to be chatting with you.
It's wonderful to have you here.
So one of the reasons I wanted to talk to you today is you're going to be keynoting at our upcoming IT Expo in Las Vegas this year. And one of the interesting things is sort of what's that relationship? Why is an organization like the AARP interested in what's taking place at something like IT Expo?
Well, my role here at AARP, I'm the Chief Information Officer. At the IT Expo, there's going to be a lot of IT professionals that have interest in the type of work that I do, as a professional. One of the things that interests me is that from a CIO perspective, the role of the CIO is changing, and it's changing very, very radically. CIOs were very, very technology focused, very, very operationally focused, typically looked inside of the organization and always looking for ways in which they can drive efficiencies, trying to really focus on the bottom line operationally for an organization. In today's world, the CIOs are very, very different. It's what I call the CIO plus. For what someone told me, there's more than meet the eye. CIOs, of course, are about innovation, but it's about inspiration. It's about information. There's just so many things that goes into a CIO's role now. The most important value that CIOs bring is really how they connect to the bottom line of their business. Not so much just from the operational perspective, keeping the lights on. That's expected. That's just expected. That comes out of the box. But one of the things that is sort of the sugar that goes on top of that cereal that comes out of the box is really how CIOs find ways in which they can really connect technology to how it can have an impact on the bottom line. Now, from an AARP perspective, we're not like most companies that would be at the expo. We're a business, but we're in the business of doing good. We're a social mission organization. And so I leverage my role as a CIO, as an operational person within this organization. I've been leveraging this role to transform my organization so we can be much more prepared and equipped to really focus on the bottom line of our organization.
That's the kind of transformation and that kind of experience, so that all CIOs really have to drive within their organizations.
Absolutely, absolutely. But it's not really just about the CIOs. It's really about the organizations understanding value that they bring. The value is no longer in just keeping the lights on. Keeping the lights on is a commoditized function. You can go to a lot of different organizations now that are able to provide that value. There's nothing unique about that. But as markets change, as environments change, connecting to them this year may be a little bit different than how you could connect to them a year from now, 18 months from now. CIOs really need to be much more in tune with what are the driving factors and the opportunities in their market, just like a marketer would be, or just like a customer service individual would be. What are those bottom line things, those bottom line opportunities that really would enhance your organization and meet their bottom lines? Our bottom line is not about sale. Our bottom line is about making an impact in society, about making sure that we're relevant to what the needs of society are. And so where my focus has been as a CIO is not just on the operational piece, but how I can make that connector back to what really makes a difference for us as an organization.
And that means, as you say, connecting with your constituencies. And you've got a very, very large constituency.
38 million members, yes.
First of all, how do you connect with that constituency, and what is it that other CIOs and other technology executives can learn from what you're doing?
Well, we connect to that constituency in a variety of ways. But one of the things that I am focused on, if you look at AARP as an organization, for 58 years we've been about really one thing, and that one thing is, as you age, you do so with dignity and purpose. As you age, we make sure that we're the organizations that's going to equip you to live your best life. And so you have a life that you understand there's more possibilities that as you age. Your possibilities are not limited just because you're getting older. You're getting wider. One of the things that we know is that technology is a huge enabler to understanding what those possibilities are. But we also know is that there is a huge age-based digital divide out there. Although 80% of the Americans are online, you have 20% who are not online. Out of that 20%, half of that 20% are 50 plus. And as they get older, that number and the percentage gets broader. So we find that it is our mission, our goal, our opportunity to to really focus on that challenge, because technology is not just a nice to have anymore, it's an imperative.
I think certainly anybody watching this is going to agree with that. How do you approach that, those users, your customers, your constituencies, to help them understand that technology isn't a like to have, it is a must have today for them?
Well, we're doing it just like we're taking a lesson from life. In life, before you can appreciate the benefits and the possibilities that you may have, you need to be educated on what's there now, right? And so whether you're 3 or 103, when you're facing new possibilities in your life, it starts with education first. And that's where we're starting. We could have had a program where we're bringing in multiple sources, multiple companies from different industries, multiple type of connectors. I'm probably not saying it in the right way, but there's a lot of different avenues that we could have taken. But as we begin to peel back the slice of the onion and see how we can make a difference, we realize for this constituency that is 50 plus, fear and relevance were the 2 top reasons why people were not driving and adapting to technology. And so in order to eliminate fear, in order to drive folks to understand how it's relevant to their lives, education is where it starts. So we have put together a very, very, really groundbreaking, a breakthrough technology initiative that is customized for the 50 plus individual.
So this concept of fear and helping your user group overcome the fear of technology, educate them on how technology can enhance their lives. Do you think that is something that other CIOs, other technologists, other corporate executives can learn from and use that strategy to help their, not only their customers, but their internal user bases as well?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Well, I would say a banking institution, right? So most banks realize that the cost of a transaction through traditional brick and mortar, having a person execute that transaction, keeping the lights on at a branch and things of that nature, that's a costly transaction when you can have that same transaction done for pennies on the dollars doing it online in a very, very secure environment. One of the reasons that many banks keep a lot of branches, especially in rural areas, is because in many rural areas they have older customers. Those older customers are not going to the online services, but they're loyal customers, very, very loyal customers. And so a bank could benefit greatly by educating their customers how to go online, how to use their services, getting over the fear, understanding that those services are relevant to them. And not only opens up a door that was limited by their experiences with that bank before. Well, I just interact with them when I want to cash a check or I want to deposit a check. They realize through their online experiences that it gets much broader. They can move money around themselves if they wanted to. They can do analysis on their accounts. They can see transactions that were dated from a year ago where they don't have to go through their file cabinets. It just opens up a new world for them. And for a bank, if they can drive more adoption to the online community, especially in the older markets, that would have a huge benefit on their bottom line.
It really sounds like what you're talking about is a common trend we're really seeing across the tech space is a huge focus on the customer experience.
Yes, a huge focus on the customer experience. That's where it starts. I mean, your customers are your bottom line. Unfortunately, what we see, especially when it comes to technology adoption and technology period, that experience is usually focused, well, from a company's perspective, the focus is typically on the 18 to 24-year market. And I get it from a marketing perspective. You know, it's a market that changes radically. They're not so connected to technologies that the pace of change is going to really have an impact on their use and their adoption of it. 18 to 24 years from the 24-year-olds, from the time they were 3, they were used to technology and changing, and that technology changing. But for my demographic and the way I grew up, you know, if it's not broke, you don't fix it. You know, if it works, I just want it to work the same way. Technology, unfortunately, sort of changes that paradigm. So So yes, when you're talking about the customer and focusing on the customer, you have to realize the spectrum really goes from 3 to 103. Not just focusing on one group and then having another, all other demographics benefit from whatever products and services that you have out there.
You talk about the 18 to 24 group, and then obviously you're dealing largely with the 50 plus group. How important is that younger generation, that millennial group that's now coming into the workforce to helping you bridge that digital divide?
Hugely important. Let's say if you were a 30-year-old and you had 70-year-old parents. As a 30-year-old, you should be interested in an organization like AARP, or you should be interested in issues that involve older Americans, because you may be facing long-term care issues that you never anticipated before. You could have a parent, a grandparent, or someone in your family that you're taking care of and you didn't anticipate that at 30. So I say that, this is ageless. And when it comes to the focus that should be on the older community or aging community, this is an ageless thing from my perspective.
What's the one message that you have for other CIOs, other technology execs out there regarding either bridging that digital divide or working on that experience for their customers and for their own internal users?
Well, I would even back it up from there if I had advice for other CIOs. My strategy has been transforming my organization to run more like a business. And running more like a business, I need to understand the business that I am and understand what our bottom lines are. Once you understand that, then you retool your organization, and mainly from a cultural perspective, so your organization understand the benefits and how to run like a business. Because I went through this massive transformation effort, understanding what our bottom line was, my massive transformation efforts was not about retooling IT just for technology purposes, but retooling IT so we can provide more value to the bottom line of our business. So if I'm giving any advice to other CIOs or any technology executives, is that you're not a technology executive. You're a business person first. Think about your business, think about the bottom line results that business is trying to achieve. Then you find a way that you can leverage technology, your vendor relationships, or whatever you have at your disposal. Because most CIOs, you have a pretty nice budget that you can deal with and make changes, that you can have impact on your organization. Unfortunately, 70% of most CIOs' budgets are going to keeping the lights on, which is important, absolutely important. But that's not where the value is. The value is really looking out into the future and looking at how you can impact your business's bottom line and finding ways to do that. For me, we're in the business of doing good. We're in the business of creating a better society. We have a noble social mission, and we've been doing this for 58 years. For me, my bottom line is connecting to the community and providing programs and services that are going to help folks as they age live a better life. But someone else who's in a different business, their bottom line would be different. But the strategy, from my perspective, should be the same.
How important is it for you to first be able to influence your own, not only your own team that works closely with you here, but your own AARP internal user group before you can reach out to your audience?
It was important would be an understatement. I would call it, again, an imperative. You just can't do it. It's like trying to use a car without gas. Without transforming the people within my organization, also the connectors to my business partners that also make this happen, and ensuring that they were understanding the role of IT, because IT traditionally has been more of an operational and a service-centric role internally to the organization. But in order to build that type of credibility in an organization where you are seen as someone or as an entity that is going to drive business or is going to impact your organization's bottom line through direct innovations, direct channels that you're creating, whatever it may be that you can, or leveraging your partners. There's just tons of ideas and possibilities that you have. I think, going back to your question, it's just an imperative that you're not going on this journey solo. It has to be an organizational commitment to the changes that you're going to be making in your organization, because it is transformative. And In some ways, folks can look at it as radical. I just look at it as evolutionary, just keeping up with the times. The pace of change is maddening these days. Most CIOs, understand that's probably the hardest thing that we're dealing with right now. Just how do we keep up? How do we keep out in front of technology? Well, we'll never get in front of technology, but just keep up with the technologies and the new inventions or innovations that are coming down, so we can leverage those to do our best work within an organization. Keeping up with that for a CIO is not it's not an easy challenge. But if you focus on your organization and understand that value, creating an organization that can thrive in an ever-changing environment, because things will change. We're talking about mobile, social media today. 5 years from now, the predominant conversation could be wearables, which it probably will be. We need to be thinking about those things today and not waiting till those technologies become more commodities and you don't have an organization really that can address those newer things that are coming down the pipe.
Absolutely, Terry. Absolutely admirable work that you and the team here at the AARP are doing. Thanks for joining me. We look forward to seeing you in Las Vegas at IT Expo.
Thank you very, very much. Looking forward to being there.